You're listening to Intuitive Style, where we believe that everyone has style. I'm Maureen Balton. In conversation with fantastic guests, we explore how to tap into our style intuition so that we can dress authentically and live fully. Today's guest is Anika Krueger, writer of No Wardrobe. Anika is an uber stylish corporate girly by day, personal stylist by night. We love her style analyses and the way that she makes high street look high end. Anika, welcome to the show.
Hi, Maureen. Thank you so much for having me.
So glad to get to talk to you. I mean, you are such an early supporter of the concept of intuitive style and of the podcast, and just in general, the idea of intuitive dressing. And I would just love to hear from you, like, what is your experience or your definition of what it means to dress intuitively? What does this concept mean to you, and how does it show up, in your life?
I think it's so funny because I feel like from the outside, my personal style doesn't appear intuitive at all. It's really minimal. It's like I dress with a really limited color palette and just with very few details. And my style is really defined by clean lines and neutral tones and just really simple silhouettes. And so I feel like most people actually associate intuitive style with like really playful, experimental, and expressive looks, but that's so not me. And I feel like the same applies to my home and my lifestyle. So everything is really minimalist, and my apartment is really simple, really uncluttered, and really filled with everything that just only makes sense to me. And also in my interior decorating, etc. I use like really neutral colors. So both my wardrobe and my environment are always like really edited, very curated. So actually the opposite of intuitive, but I've realized that my intuition actually guides me towards this simplicity. So it actually took me years to accept that my true style is that simple and also kind of boring in a way, maybe. But my intuition actually expresses itself through this like really calm and very clear. And I like order, I like calm, I like clarity. So my brain and emotions actually feel best in simplicity and harmony. And I had this epiphany like recently that for me, intuitive style actually means choosing what supports my nervous system. So that sound weird. Like I need to wear clothes that feel like me and that match my emotions that day. I just like dressing intuitively simply means aligning how I feel with how I present myself. And so, yeah, I think to sum everything up, it's just like choosing what supports the version of myself and choosing what supports my nervous system.
Well, we can end the podcast right there. No, I mean, that's so incredible. I agree with you on every point about the misconceptions or what we perceive intuitive style might look like versus what it might feel like, right? And I think that's what you just got to, is that it's not intuitive style isn't an aesthetic, it's a preference, it's a way of choosing. So you were talking about your nervous system and how the clothing that you wear supports your nervous system. Can you maybe talk through like an example where you tried something that was more colorful, or like you considered doing something more wild and you could tell that that didn't align with you versus something that, you have purchased or you do really enjoy? What is that difference in feeling for you?
Like from the top of my head, I don't necessarily remember like an example because I feel like every time before I leave the house, I actually check if something supports my nervous system or not. But I do remember like that massive teddy fur coat I got probably 2 years ago, and I felt so visible and I felt like so seen on the street, and I couldn't handle that at the time. So that's probably one example of that just underlines that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great example. I can think of that too. Like sometimes something just feels loud and it's
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not the kind of attention that you want.
exactly.
You mentioned that before you leave the house, every day you do a nervous system check. I need more information. What is this?
I mean, I do lay out my clothes before I leave the house, because I leave really early in the morning when I go to work. But actually, I just look in the mirror and just check, okay, what is on the agenda for today? How do I feel today? And most importantly, how do I want to feel today? And then I just do a little tiny check. Is that representing or is that represented in my outfit in the day? So let's say I am wearing a leather jacket that day, but I don't necessarily feel very strong, or yeah, there's something I I just chose something that probably would make me feel more seen in a way or more visible, and then I just change or make little tweaks, and so my nervous system just is in balance again.
Yeah, so the idea is choosing something that represents how you're feeling on that day versus
Yeah.
just in general, or maybe
It
both.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
Both probably, yeah. I also
yeah.
and I've think I've talked about this on Substack before. Um, I also always feel like I want to have a cohesive look like throughout my personal style, and so that's actually referring to what you said about and emotions in general or representation in general, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think it is about that idea of being cohesive that resonates with you? I know I do and so many other people do. What is it about that feels good to you?
Um, I think my style notes on Substack actually give away that I'm quite analytical in a sense. And also, I think that also actually reflects my more perfectionist side. And I feel like those, yeah, I think that's actually probably the reason.
Yeah, yeah, that's super fair. Let's talk about that. So, okay, I think another maybe misconception that I've experienced with intuitive style is that it's somehow the opposite of being analytical. I think for me, and from what I've heard from you, they're actually very intertwined with your style notes, where if I can summarize, basically analyze a really cool person and their
Yeah.
style, and you see what it is about that works or resonates with you. So I'd just love to hear your take on how being analytical relates to being intuitive. Do you think that they are really opposites? Do you think that they fit together? How does that work?
I actually think they do fit together and they intertwine in a sense, because I feel like on a subconscious level, I would always be analytical, but then this intuitive side actually, or this emotional side that we've talked about, actually also plays a role in that. So I think I always have like style formulas and like really patterns, even like the things I probably have already discussed on my style notes, I have them in the back of my head. And then my intuitive style actually plays with that. So they kind of intertwine my more perfectionist or analytical side and then my intuitive style. So in the end, I think it's a sum of both of that. So that makes me get dressed.
Yeah. Can I share how I see they relate and see what you
Please,
think?
please,
Okay.
yeah.
To me, it's like if you think about like a trained interior designer or a trained
Mhm.
artist, yes, you can absolutely be completely self-taught and just like create something totally new. And also, a lot of artists learn techniques by
Yeah,
studying people that they look up to, or artworks that they are inspired by. Like when you think about, someone who's learned how to do um sculpting out of marble or whatever. That's not something that you just like necessarily pick up a chisel one day and you like nail it the first try. Like
yeah,
someone probably had to teach you techniques. So I see it as a way of, it's just like a study. It's like a study in the thing that we are clearly passionate about, which is getting dressed. I don't think there's anything wrong with studying what other people are doing in order to interpret it for ourselves. And I think it's just a deeper way of engaging with the topic. And I think I don't think that, like, mimicking or taking pieces from what someone else is wearing,
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever gonna look or feel exactly the same on us anyway, because we are
Yeah.
unique individuals, and so our personality and all of that really impacts how it feels anyway, so I just see it as a way of, like, engaging deeper in a topic that we care about. How do
I
you
love
feel
that
about that?
idea. I love that idea. I mean, actually, when you said like the trained interior designer example, I actually had to think of a trained dancer. Like a trained
Uh,
dancer also has they have their routines, they have their training sessions, but in a way they have to give emotions to when they start dancing and start moving. So of course it's a choreography once they are on stage, etc. But there's so much intuition also in the way they dance or in the way they move. And yeah, I love that. You're also a supporter of the idea that you can actually copy other people but still remain true to
yeah.
yourself or true to your intu intuitive style in the end. So yeah.
Well, I think we should touch on perfectionism then, because to me, being analytical isn't the same thing as being a perfectionist. They
Mhm.
are related to each other to me, but I'm curious your thoughts on this. So, like, perfectionism is like where you take analytics too far and you're like, oh, if it's not exact, it's not worth trying. How do you think about them? Sorry, I should have asked you first. I got excited.
No, 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 that's okay. I feel I mean, I've never thought about it that way.
Mm,
They were always intertwined for me. So, um, this analytical side actually always had like almost like a bad association to it or
yeah.
connotation to it. But yeah, actually, mm, analyzing something can actually also support your idea of something, or can actually just, I don't know, serve as a research for something. And I like that you actually separate those two or differentiate between the two ideas because yeah, perfectionism per se is nothing bad, and being analytical is also not something bad. But I also like that that you actually separate them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can give an example, right? And like to me, the perfection so I love your style note series, right? And it encouraged
Thank
me
you.
to write my own version just because I couldn't help it, you know what I mean? I saw yours and I was like, I have to do one like this. Like it just was
Yeah.
so I was like so excited by it. I just felt like, oh wait, this is the emotional side that like made me want to do this highly analytical thing. Like they're very intertwined. And then I think that my the difference that I see is if I do this analysis of someone's style and
Hmm.
then I recreate it and my version looks different, which spoiler alert, it will, like I said,
It will always look different. Yeah.
and then automatically say, okay, different is bad. I have failed. Wasn't worth trying. That to me is where it tips into perfectionism, where it's
Yeah.
like, I shouldn't even bother dressing like the people whose style I like. I shouldn't even bother, wearing the types of clothes that I feel most excited and energized by. Because on me, I'm not gonna do it right. It's gonna look bad. My
Yeah.
body is gonna make it look bad. All that stuff. That is where I think it gets into this unhealthy level of like pessimism and just
Yeah.
not even going for the things that excite us.
Yeah.
I would
That's
love
so
your
true.
take on that. Is that even something that resonates with you? Have you ever had that
That's
kind of experience?
Yes, I think that whoever you just look at, like, or whoever I look at within like my style notes, I always, and that's why I do this little section in the end where it's a little section where I say, okay, what do I take away from my own personal style? And it's always something really abstract. So I think it's important to see patterns rather than like, okay, this is an outfit that is actually consisting of a white shirt plus a, I don't know, like black jeans and boots, but rather like what's the vibe behind the outfit? What do I I like about it, and rather how does it make me feel rather than what are the elements or the pieces in the outfit, or yeah, like you said, how can I copy that person best, but how can I make my own version of this, or what actually relates in this look or in this personal style that would benefit for my own
Yeah.
personal style.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, I think we have to let the emotions and the analytical side, like, coexist. I think they're both better together. That's
Absolutely,
my
yes.
take.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to talk next about how you decide what to buy and where. How do you decide what not to buy and where?
That's also really funny because I feel like my personal style is really defined by what I'm deciding not to buy and not to wear. So because it's so curated and edited and so minimal, as you can guess, I'm not an impulse shopper. I buy very intentionally. I have a really clear vision of what I want to buy, how I want to dress. And actually, I gravitate towards the pieces in a store that already feel like they're hanging in my wardrobe,
Mhm.
sorry. And this leads me to buying upgraded versions of things I already have, but they actually are really aligned with my personal style and also with the idea I have of practicality. I have a list of things that I update regularly of things I don't want to buy, or like
Mhm.
a reminder, because that's what I usually do. Not only with my wardrobe, but generally in life, I love to reflect on like past decisions. What not in a like
No,
bad
I'm with
way,
you.
like, in an
Mhm.
unhealthy way, so
Mhm.
but rather, like, don't buy that weird thing again, or don't buy that,
Mhm.
remember last time you sold, like, 20 shirts with, logos on them already, and yeah, so more in that way.
Mhm. So, okay. I think what can be really hard is how to know what we do and do not like. And right, so one of the things that you said is that you buy things that you feel like would already be hanging on your closet. I don't expect this answer to be easy, but how do you build that trust? Like how do you know when that item feels like it's missing?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that's also like the Marie Kondo thing. It sparks joy and it feels like I think it's you can't really put your finger on it. I try things on and if it's like really an addition to my wardrobe or an extension
Mm,
and it feels right, and that's also we're circling back to the intuition. I think I'm a person with a really strong gut feeling
yeah.
and sometimes it's just like that gut feeling. So I'm gonna do the explanation part later. And then
Mhm.
it's just trying something on and just like I said, just have this little check-in. Okay, um, that's it, or
Yeah.
that's not it. And sometimes I can just point out, okay, it's the length, it's the silhouette,
Mhm.
it's material. And sometimes you just can't. You hang it
It's
back
just off.
and yeah, it's and I also think you always have to remind yourself and build a quote unquote like style confidence with your
Mm,
personal style and with that more probably like practical side of the entire wardrobe personal style subject as in you go shopping and you have like that feeling about something and okay, I'm confident enough to and I trust myself enough and I trust my gut feeling enough that that
yeah.
is not the right decision today or
Yeah.
ever. So, yeah.
What do you have a sense, like, just ballpark on, like, your success rate? So, like, for how many things that you try on, how many do you end up, like, buying?
Oh, that's so interesting. That's such a good question. Sometimes I just or yeah, I just try things on just to see, just to push a little outside of the box or, but I think the rate is quite low of the things I actually, return or hang back, but I'm not like this girly girl that loves to shop and tries on, like, a million things. I'm rather like someone, "Okay, I want to see how that feels," and then sometimes I try something on out of curiosity. I recently been to Amsterdam, and we went into, I think, Philippa K, and I tried on that really beautiful coat that was really cinched in at the waist, and I just wanted to see how it looks on my body, but and I think I should do that more often, like, this will be something that will probably actually be really good for my intuitive style to just, like, let it grow a bit, but and my personal style to actually evolve, but yeah, actually the rate to come back to your question, I feel like, yeah, the rate is pretty low at things I actually, yeah, try and
Mm,
don't end up buying. Yeah.
interesting.
What was it for you? Do you try
Yeah,
a lot of things?
I try so many things on. Like, so many, and then I buy, like, one thing. I don't know, I think there's, like, a size component
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
where it does make it more complicated, like, fit when your body isn't really designed for in that way, but even, like, when I was in, like, more clearly straight sizes, I still think I tried on a lot of stuff and didn't end up buying a lot of things or it didn't stay long. And for me, that's going back to the idea of like how analytical and emotion kind of fit together. It's like I need data to respond to.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Like I'm just collecting data in when I go try things on or when I browse online or like when I compare measurements for things. It's like
Mhm.
that's all data that helps me decide what is worth ordering, what is not worth ordering. And then from there it's like just keep what I can keep. But
Yeah.
it sounds like you have kind of a different approach where you know what you want to try on and you feel pretty confident that it's going to work and then it does
Yeah, I
most of
mean,
the time.
sometimes, like, especially in that day and age where we have, like, online shopping and sometimes it's been a tough day and you just order something online and then, like, 2 or 3 things just end up in your basket that are probably not supposed to be there, but, yeah. Yeah, sure, but, I think, like, you actually inspired me to do that more often now, so I
Mm.
actually, like, spend a day with, like, a good friend and just browse. That's just I don't think I necessarily take the time to do that, but, yeah, and I mean, I think there's no right or wrong with this,
No,
approach
yeah.
or, I think it's yeah.
Totally. And also, I should be clear when I say that I try on a lot of stuff, it's usually I have a very specific idea in mind of what I want,
Mhm,
and I just try on a lot of different versions of that thing. So it's not necessarily that I'm trying on like, I don't really wear yellow, for example. I'm not trying on yellow when
mhm.
I know I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
buy it.
I understand, yeah.
But if I want a gray sweater, I'll try on, I don't know,
Yeah.
quite a few of
No, I
them.
I completely understand.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
can just be hard to find the right version, but I
I
don't
can
know.
yeah.
I think it's worth trying.
It is, yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I also wanted to go back. You had mentioned that when you buy something, you wanted to extend your wardrobe or enhance your wardrobe. I love that idea. I need you to say more about that. What do you mean by that? It just sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so I this probably also is a too perfectionist idea, but I mean, in the end, I want my wardrobe to actually represent only what makes sense to me. So I'm really intentional about what's going in, like I said. So, yeah, that's probably it.
Can I see if this is part of what you mean too? Is like you don't buy just to buy. And
Mhm.
everything has, like, a purpose. So, what do you are you, like, a person who buys multiples? Like, if you buy multiples, are they very different? Like, how do you know that something's going to extend versus just, like, maybe be there or, like, make something easier? What's the difference between just, like, being easier versus extending?
All right. So I actually don't buy multiples. I feel like my entire personal style journey is based on the idea that I always upgrade a version. Like let's take your great sweater for instance. For me, it's oversized blazers. So 10 years ago, I started like collecting oversized blazers, and I always sell one and then buy an upgraded version of it that fits my probably also trend-led idea of a an oversized blazer for now. So I the enhanced or extended term
Mhm.
is actually buying upgraded versions rather than buying multiples or yeah, having, like, that addition to it's actually, like, stacking up on the idea of so if you look at my personal style, like, from, like, 10 years ago, it has always been oversized blazers, loafers, ballet flats, coats, trench coats, but in, like, various versions. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I mean by extension or rather than addition. It's always like I do sell a
Mm.
lot of clothes on Vinted,
Mhm.
and I just try to, as I said, just keep things in my wardrobe that I truly love. Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
like, so I completely understand your idea of different versions of a gray sweater.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and when you say enhanced version, you mentioned that sometimes that can be trend led. Is that is that kinda what you mean, or is there another element to that?
Yeah, I think it's mostly sadly trend led. So it's at the moment it's like really exaggerated shoulders, very textured, the Frankie shop to name a brand, that really strong silhouette. But I also think that the intuition or the emotional side also leads or
Mm,
guides me in that way that I actually not only buy an enhanced version of something trend led, but I also absolutely feel that I buy for my personality that has grown so much
mhm,
within like the last 10 years. That's also something. And I think I've also become like more courageous in a way to buy more quote unquote fashion pieces because my personality has grown so much. I've been some sort of a people pleaser before and yeah, so and people don't really seem to care about what you're wearing actually. So
yeah,
that's also what makes a version of like let's say an oversized blazer an enhanced version of it.
yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm with you, I'm with you. Let's talk about you had mentioned looking at your wish list. Do you wanna do that?
Mm, I actually don't have a wish list. I do have a not to buy list. I love the idea of having a wish list and just like buying things from it and feeling that satisfaction to actually complete that, but I only have a not to buy list.
So, what's on that right now?
All right, let me check my notes. All right, so first up, no surprise, it's sneakers, except
Mm,
maybe one elegant Samba version.
mhm.
Short jackets that don't cover your hips. I always gravitate towards shorter jackets, and I always sell them because I
Mm,
feel really is leading back to what we've talked before. I feel very seen in short
mhm.
jackets, and it's really not comfortable.
Yeah.
Logo shirts and sweatshirts, shoes you can't walk in, because
Mhm.
I actually have a commute to work and I have a 30-minute walk every
Mm.
morning. So
Yeah.
I I tried shoes up until last year. I tried shoes that I really can't walk in, and I'm smarter now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
so and the last 3 notes are actually on color, so, khaki green pieces, warm beige pieces, and dark gray pieces. Yeah, it's very specific, but it's actually so helpful to have a little guidance there.
Mhm. It's funny, those 3 colors are also colors I don't buy.
Yeah. So what would be on your not to buy list?
Um, what is on my not to buy list? Long jackets,
Oh, interesting.
because it's not really required by the weather here.
Okay, yeah. Sense.
I do have 2 long jackets, but, like, that's plenty. This is maybe a cop out, but things I don't like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
sometimes I'll just buy something because it's really practical in some way, or, like, it's comfortable, or it's, like, good enough, and then I have a hard time styling it, and it just, like, takes up all this brain space
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
way that things I really genuinely like don't. They feel
Yeah.
effortless. So, yeah, that's probably my biggest thing is just, like, if don't really like it, like, please don't buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lace shirt that looks really cool, like, underneath a dress that I just ordered. The dress I'm keeping, I really like the dress, I've worn it a bunch already. But the top, I was like, "Oh, it'd be really cool to have some sort of top that I could wear underneath this dress." And I like it in theory, but I have
Mhm.
to send it back because I just know that I don't actually like it. I like it in
Yeah.
theory. It's not the exact right one, whatever. And I'm just if I keep it, it's gonna be a whole headache, so I'm sending that back.
Perfect. Yeah, that's actually the idea of, like, sparking joy that I've
Yeah.
mentioned before, yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
exactly.
just as easy as that, and yeah.
It can be hard when you have especially when you're like, "Oh, I have this, like, really specific idea in my head of what I
Mhm.
want to accomplish," and then this thing is, like, close to that, but it's not it, like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
True.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how you feel in your clothes, like, more on the emotional side. What about, like, body awareness? So this would be how things feel on your body, like the texture or the fit. How does that influence what you decide to buy and wear?
I think it influences me, like, in a subconscious and in a conscious way, and I'm really grateful to say that I actually feel like my body is more of a friend
Mm.
and is giving me signals, and I know not everybody can say that about them, but I feel like body awareness for me is rather about, like, the emotional side, this entire nervous system side that I've talked about, rather than sizing or silhouettes or anything. Of course, in that sense, body awareness plays a huge role in what I deciding to buy or wear. And we've talked about the emotional side um, of getting dressed. Yeah, whenever I feel I have to have a bit of a support in the morning, I definitely wear something in a stronger material like heavy leather jacket or a textured oversized blazer with like exaggerated shoulders. And also we've talked about visibility versus
Mhm.
invisibility in that sense, like you become so aware of your body and you're so self-consciously,
Mhm.
is that the right word? Self-consciously? Self-conscious? Self-conscious.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so of course that body awareness plays a huge role and probably the most important role when I get dressed,
Yeah.
combined with that idea that I've mentioned about my nervous system.
Yeah, and when you talk about feeling exposed, what does that feel like? Is that like feeling scared? What is that in your like, what does that feel like?
Not necessarily scared, but just
Mm,
really like, okay, everyone's looking. Like
okay.
that's yeah,
Mm,
like totally uncomfortable
mm,
in a way.
mhm.
Um, yeah, rather
Maybe
than
like a distraction?
um yeah, yeah, a distraction, but also like very um maybe yes, not scared but anxious, like
Oh, yeah.
really
Okay.
that
Mhm.
sensitive,
Mhm.
really that you just are so aware of the fact that you're wearing XYZ. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Okay, let's talk about how your style has changed. I know we talked a little bit about how there's a lot of elements of your style that have stayed the same, but any memorable phases that you can think of?
Yeah, I think my personal style is so closely connected to my personality that
Mm.
any major, bigger life change has actually been a reason for my personal style to evolve. So, first one that comes to my mind is university. So, um, I went to uni and moved to a bigger city. So, my style actually evolved in that quote unquote blogger era. Um, and that was, like, the first time I really had to kind of filter style influences, and I was chronically overdressed in, like, really, oversized blazers, loafers, while everyone at uni, which was in that really open-minded, really casual city, dressed in, like, Converse, uh, Chucks, and basically jeans and a T-shirt. And so my early personal style journey was a bit like vintage retro hipster style. And as I said, like overdressed. And then it actually transitioned into more of a Scandi minimalist style, but even more minimalist than it is today. And that was also like the capsule wardrobe era. And I never did that, but I was really close to a capsule wardrobe. And then in my early law career, so when I first started my first law job, actually my style really truly felt like my own personal style. And actually, someone really close to me got really ill in that around that time. So like I think 2 months into my first job, and getting dressed for work actually became like an emotional anchor for me. So
Mm.
because no one at work actually knew what was going on in my
Yeah.
personal life.
Yeah.
It was like the biggest and the most grateful distraction to get dressed for work and to really dress up and support my emotions and just keep it together. And yeah, and then just like all major life changes would have just evolved or built up on that evolution of my personal style. So breakups, of course, moving cities. And that's also so funny. Like the city I'm living in right now is actually, I've never felt so home in a place and in a city because they dress up, but in a really authentic way. And I don't have to wear Converse to just fit in. So
Yeah.
that's really nice.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to talk about that. So I think there's a very legitimate tension between wearing what feels good to us and wearing what feels good as related to the people around us.
Hmm.
And there can be a divide between what we feel represents our personality or our interests and what we are seeing around us. So, with the example of, when you're in uni and everyone was wearing Converse, did you feel more comfortable wearing the loafers rather than wearing the Converse? Like, did it depend on the situation? How do you navigate that kind of maybe mismatch?
Oh, that's so interesting. I feel like I never had the confidence to actually wear the loafers and feel good. So I wore a bit of a mishmash. So I wore probably the Converse and the blazers. Yeah,
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
tried to adapt to a certain level that was okay for me, but never felt good.
Mhm.
I also became better at not doing this. So, for instance, if I like those like casual events you go to and you don't really know anyone, I used to really like the old version of me used to dress really down for this.
Yeah.
And also actually because of Substack, Substack actually told me, oh, it's okay to dress up too. wear what you want, and just because like the crowd that is there doesn't like fashion or doesn't really dress up, it's not a reason to adapt to that. And actually because I'm more confident in the to go back to your example
Yeah.
in the loafers. But I used to absolutely, you
Yeah.
know, choose the chucks over the loafers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super fair. Um, so what advice would you give to someone trying to build a wardrobe that feels intuitive and authentic to them?
I love that question, actually. I would give the advice to take it seriously because I I actually also always like try to tell myself to take it more seriously because fashion is always considered something superficial and it's not. So yeah, take it as something that is important to you and view it as a holistic process. So take your emotions and your confidence into consideration too, and just like take your time to discover not only what you want to wear, but also how you want to feel, like I said, and also discover what your values are. And that actually also circles back to the Chuck Loafer discussion. Just be unapologetic about who you are and yeah, grow into a version, like in that holistic process, grow into a version that you like and then dress accordingly and take your time to figure out what that means to you. And I think also like see your wardrobe as a space of happiness or try to
Mhm.
see it as a space of happiness and just like really sounds so cheesy, but just like fall in love with and celebrate fashion as something, as I said, like important and something like something that you do for yourself because in the end it's how you a show up in the world, show up as someone, and that's the first thing people see about you or on you. And yeah, so I think, yeah, now if I always have to remind myself that it's really important and it's important to me and it influences so much in my life, so many areas. So
Yeah, great advice. Well, thank you so much. Where can listeners find you?
first on my Substack, it's called No Wardrobe because funny enough, the actual idea was that I wanted to sell my entire wardrobe and build it from scratch. So it's called
Okay.
No Wardrobe. And my Instagram is Anika.Ricarda, my second name. People can also actually find me on Index. I'm a personal stylist there. And my Index link is linked in my bio on Instagram and on my bio on Substack.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that all of that is linked in the show notes. Thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Intuitive Style is produced, edited, and hosted by me, Maureen Walton. Our theme music is by Tim Reed and Jacob Walton. In case you missed it, Intuitive Style, the podcast, is an offshoot of Intuitive Style, the newsletter. Head on over to Substack, search Intuitive Style to read the newsletter, which covers reflections on what's happening in personal style world, guest features, and the encouragement that there's no right way to get dressed. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share this episode with someone you think might enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe as new episodes drop weekly on Fridays. Thanks. See you next week.